the guy that we recruited last time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just walked by.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Will, and today I'm going to be talking about food imports to the island of Hawaii. I'm going to give a brief history of the advent of our current food system supply. I'm going to talk about the impacts of that food system on Hawaii. And I'm going to give an account of the economic and ecological impact that this system has on our islands. Now, Hawaii is located 2,500 miles away from the continental United States. And according to a recent document, Hawaii's increased food self-sufficiency strategy, we import 85 to 90% of the food consumed on the islands. This makes us extremely vulnerable to food shortages that could range from anything to from a natural disaster to a dock strike. And in fact, at any time, we have about 10 days worth of food stockpile to feed the population of the state. Now, how did we get into this system? And it seems so tenuous. So let's explore like food imports just real briefly. So in the 1940s, improvements to shipping containers and refrigeration technology allowed fresh food to be shipped worldwide. This gave rise to the factory farm model production of food, where food could be produced much more cheaply in a centralized location and then shipped internationally than it could on a small scale local level. Now, as food suppliers grew and consolidated, they were able to operate on economies of scale that allowed them to greatly outdistance the savings that you could get from buying just locally produced foods. This is a model we're currently working under, and it leads you to see fruits and vegetables from Mexico and beef from California and fish from China competing in your supermarket with locally produced goods. Now, in the 1940s, Hawaii entered this worldwide food supply chain, and for the majority of Hawaii's history, it was entirely self-sufficient in food, but since the 1940s, as the decades have went on, we've become increasingly more dependent upon this worldwide food supply system. Currently, we import about 85 to 90% of our food, and in 2012, $6.16 billion were spent in Hawaii on food. Now, the impacts of this system on Hawaii are both economic and ecological. Economic, in that money spent on food imported to the islands leaves the local economy and goes to mainland and international corporations. Ecological, in that invasive species are introduced to Hawaii when you bring in biological matter, be it food or plants or basically anything that comes to the island. Now, the economic impacts. At first glance, food prices of imported food does seem a little bit cheaper. It's usually a couple cents to $1 cheaper per pound than you'll see for locally produced goods. This doesn't take into account the long-term economic impacts of buying imported food. So when you buy food that's imported to Hawaii, that money leaves the local economy and goes to international and mainland businesses. That cumulatively depresses the local economy. Now, in 2012, as I said, $6.16 billion was spent on food purchases in Hawaii. If you assume a pretty standard 25% farm share, that's $1.3 billion going off island every year that could be going to the local economy. Now, if you were to switch to a more local production model, just upping the percentage of locally produced, consumed, and bought foods by 10% would yield $139 million remaining in the local economy and 2,300 jobs in agriculture and its attendant economies. If you switch to 100% local production model, that's $101.39 billion manning the local economy. $39 million in tax revenues that could go to roads and schools and hospitals, and over 14,000 jobs, again, in not just the agricultural sector, but also, and anything that the agricultural sector touches, be it supermarkets, be it like farm stores, it would be a huge boost to our economy. Now, the ecological impacts have to do with importing items into the islands. Hawaii has a fragile ecosystem. It's evolved in isolation over millions of years. And pests and invasive species often live in food imported in. That's where we got little fire ant, or strawberry guava, or myconia, or the picture's not real good, but that's a coffee borer beetle, which is kind of wreaking havoc on the Kona coffee on this island right now. Now, these introduced species, they can outcompete native species. As you see right here, this is kudzu vine. Have any of you guys been up the Hamakua coast at all to like Hakalau? If you go down there, it's the entire floor of the valley is just blanketed with this vine. It's choking out all the trees, all the plants, and just kind of taking over. It's a plant that was brought in from Japan, and it's highly invasive, and it's just really a problem. It can also destroy valuable crops. At the bottom, that's a picture of the coffee borer beetle. Now, coffee in general on this island is a huge industry. In 2010, the coffee borer beetle was discovered. It's originally from Africa, but somehow made its way over here. Scientists aren't quite sure how it did. It can reduce yields of coffee crops by up to 90%. Now, when you're dealing with a industry that is so indelibly tied to our local economy, if you're looking at 90% reduction in cost, that's a huge impact on our local economy. So, in summation, food imports, they funnel money out of the local economy. They reduce the availability of local jobs. They keep tax revenue out of Hawaii's government. They increase our dependence and consumption of fossil fuels. They also tie the prices of foods in our supermarkets to worldwide gas prices. We have to use oil basically to ship foods over here. So anytime oil prices rise, we're at the mercy of, our food security is at the mercy of those oil prices. It upsets the fine ecological balance of Hawaii, and it can introduce pests and invasive species to the island, which can harm native plants and damage valuable crops. So at the bottom, you see the Hawaii Seal of Quality. This is a logo that was designed by the state to let you know that if you are buying something with that seal of quality, it is produced in Hawaii and you are buying local. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Nope.
All right.